Hi everyone, my name is Isaiah Mitchell and my footprints project is named A Football for the Future. If you ask one of my friends to name one fact about me, most of them will probably say I love football. And as a matter of fact, this is true. Ever since my dad made me watch the 2022 World Cup, football's got me hooked. No matter where I am, on the pitch or off the pitch, I always have a ball with me to play wherever I can. One day, I was playing football in my garden when I realized that I have about 7 to 8 torn up broken footballs after playing football every day. And to me, that was a problem. So I decided to do some research and I found that every year over 40 million plastic footballs get wasted using mainly non-renewable plastic materials and when ended up in landfills take over 400 years to decompose. Shocking, right? For my footprints project, I wanted to help fix this problem. One important fact that I soon found out is that it's usually not the whole ball that gets broken. It's actually the outer shell or the cover. But the inner shell, also known as the bladder, is still usable. My first step was to ask Paknura to get 1 to 2 broken footballs from PW. And when I got them, I took them to the iHub to cut open the cover of the ball and pump up the bladder of the ball. And this is what it looked like. Once we had the bladder of the ball, I was researching on what material to use for the cover of the ball. And one material that stood out to me that was very sustainable, eco-friendly, and durable was, can you guess what it was? Well, the answer is mycelium, which is made from mushrooms. But I'm not just using mycelium, I'm using mycelium leather. And you might ask me, why did you use mycelium leather and not normal leather? Simply because normal leather is made from animals, and raising animals takes a lot of space, food, and water. But mycelium leather does not harm any animals, so it's kinder for both the animals and the planet. Another reason is that mycelium leather is water resistant and biodegradable, which means over time, if it breaks down, it will go back into the soil. So you get it, right? So for my final decision, I decided to use mycelium leather. Next step, I started to think about how to get the mycelium leather. And my teachers told me Pak Ram, a high school teacher, is an expert at mycelium. So I emailed him if it was a good idea to use mycelium. And he says it was a good idea and he could order it. But he asked me if I knew how to stitch. And that's when I realized that I'm not very good at sewing. We started out trying to hand stitch on fabric, but quickly realized it was slow progress. So we tried the sewing machine and we struggled cutting out the patches for the ball because they had to be the perfect shape. For 2 weeks, we tried sewing both at home and school, but I was not getting any better and I was starting to worry about the time. With the help of my dad, he managed to short some mycelium leather from his work for me, and he contacted his friend, who was a small shoe workshop in Sabanan, who could help me with this project. We then had a meeting with him at the workshop, and we met with some of the craftsmen there that make exceptional leather shoes. We had a chat about my idea, and he agreed to help me with making my first product. Finally, I had my first day at the shoe workshop together with the craftsmen to make my first ball. My first step was to decide which pattern to use for the ball. However, I found that the modern footballs are more complicated to make as there are a lot of materials used in the form of pentagons and hexagon shapes. Then the craftsman recommended using a simple pattern from back in the 1950s, where the design was much more simple, timeless, and using less materials. So I decided to go with this design. The second step was to measure the shape of the pattern on cardboard and cut it. From this pattern, we traced around it on the mycelium leather, and we did this process 6 times to complete the ball. For the third and final step, we sewed up all the shapes together with the sewing machine, and we put it on the ball and stitched it all up together, and that was our first ball done, and this is what my final product looks like. So this is the football of the future, taking waste from the past with materials of the future. Unlike my plastic leather balls at home, if this ball breaks down, it will go back into the earth as nourishment. From this project, I learned to think more creatively and outside of the box. I also learned that collaborating with people is really important to achieve your goals. I also learned that the topic I chose for this project has a high complexity. Therefore, I had to prepare myself for all the challenges and setbacks along the way. But I soon realized that if you stay motivated, determined, optimistic, and with the support from the right people, you will get meaningful results. It may not be perfect, but there's always room for improvement. A big thank you to Zach and the craftsmen in his workshop, who have amazing and exceptional skills. My teachers for guiding me throughout this project. My mentor Joanna for helping me stay organized and helping me with my speech. My parents for supporting me from the start to the end. Pac Ram for teaching me how mycelium works and giving me some of the materials I needed. And last but not least, you, the audience, for listening to my footprint speech. And now, let me leave you with one more question. With so much waste in the world today, what do you have at home that you could reuse? Thank you.